This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I know it's early, but it is only 18 degrees, so you've got to be awake at least by now. Welcome to our 2025 North Haven State of the Town Address, and it's our pleasure to be here at the Quinnipiac University again as our host. It's wonderful to have so many of you joining us this morning, and the Quinnipiac Chamber is truly committed to supporting the North Haven and Wallingford business communities. We're dedicated to being advocates for our businesses, as we know things are challenging right now, as our federal government is making a lot of different changes, but we're here to be able to help you through those times and your great achievements that you're accomplishing along the way. The North Haven community serves as a model for the state of Connecticut. With its strong infrastructure, thriving business sector, and impressive growth, you can truly see how it's a staple within the state. Now I'd like to invite Lou D'Agostino, partner at Ciulla and D'Onofrio, LLP, for our presenting sponsor to say a few words. Lou?
Thank you. I'm a partner at Ciulla and D'Onofrio. We're over on Washington Avenue. We've been in North Haven for 29 years. As everyone knows, North Haven is a fantastic place to do business. That's a credit to First Selectman Frieda and his team with his vision and the opportunity he gives businesses here in the town. Thank you, Mike, for the job you do.
Thank you, Lou. We also would like to thank the North Haven Funeral Home, Brian Haven. He's not able to be with us today, but he is also one of our co-presenting sponsors today, and we greatly appreciate all the commitment that he has to our community and continuing to support this event year over year. Now I'd like to invite Karen Del Vecchio of Pat Munger Construction, one of the managers of the organization, and also our board member, to say a few words on behalf of the Government Affairs Committee. Thanks, Renee.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to talk a couple minutes about government affairs. You know, events like this, the legislative breakfast, opportunities to hear from candidates, these are all important benefits of membership because these are the people that make decisions on your behalf every day. And that access to and connection to is important for you all to take advantage of. And also behind the scenes, there's a lot of advocacy that goes on behind the scenes to the benefit of the business community. And every year the Chamber, the New Haven Chamber, develops a legislative agenda, it's the roadmap for advocacy through the year. And it helps the Chamber staff be nimble when issues come up so they can be reactive and proactive to our legislators. And the priorities for this year, again, they're top level and each one has a lot of things under it, but just that the priorities are continuing to invest in education, training, and resources for employees to keep our workforce as a strength, supporting programs to help businesses and including the business community in conversations regarding new programs and workplace mandates, advocating for investment in transportation infrastructure for New Haven to reach its full potential as a key transportation hub, and unlocking additional economic growth in New Haven so more people can participate in the economy. If you'd like to be more involved in the Government Affairs Committee, we'd love to hear from you. We meet pretty much every month via Zoom. And if you want more information, you could talk to me, you could talk to Renee Garrett or Victoria Verderami at the New Haven Chamber. So looking forward to hearing again this year from Mike Frieda, and thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this.
Thank you, Karen. At this time, I would like to thank Karen for coming up and speaking on our behalf, and I would like to bring Gary up to thank our sponsors today, please.
Thank you, Renee. Welcome, everyone. It's a great day to be here. I'd like to thank, once again, our co-presenting sponsors, Ciulla and D'Onofrio and North Haven Funeral Home, our major sponsor, Olbrich Stainless Steels and Special Metals. We all know what Chris Olbrich and his team means to both North Haven and Wallingford. Our event sponsors, Steve Longobardi with Candid Group. I don't know if he's here today, but again, Steve, you showed up? Where are you? Great. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate your support. We'll get a second picture when we're done today. Okay. Camco Supply Corporation of New England, Sims Medal of North Haven, Mike Kiwanis and your group, thank you so much for your contribution the last few years with the Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate that. Also, each year we have our corporate sponsors that support us at the highest level so we can put on these events and programs throughout the year. Our premier partner, Ulbrich Stainless Steel, star supporters, Inframetals, ROM America, Nucor Steel Connecticut, a bunch of corporate sponsors that are right there. We're so blessed to have them as part of our group and our business partners. Also, again, right there on the screen and in your programs. We're glad that you support us and it helps us, do the job we're tasked to do. Just excited, I live in Wallingford. I also have a home down south. Some of you know that, some don't. But I'm here quite a bit and go back and forth between Delaware and Connecticut. And let me tell you, when I'm by myself, I drove down Washington Avenue about 2 weeks ago, like 5:30 at night. And I don't know how many people have driven that sector from Wallingford, right where the train tracks are, where the train crossing is, all the way to Broadway. Mike, you've done, the lights were on, businesses were flowing, traffic was on that road. You've rebuilt that sector. I just want to commend you personally for what you've done to bring those businesses in, because it was an amazing sight to drive at night and see those lights on. You're doing an amazing job for this town. I'm glad that the chamber can be part of it. And again, we thank you for your dedicated work. And then please, everyone give Mike a round of applause. And
We nicknamed it Vegas.
And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Renee.
Thank you, Gary. Again, those sponsors, we couldn't be doing all the things that we are accomplishing on a daily basis if it weren't for your support, and we greatly appreciate all of your continued partnerships. The Chamber has been extremely busy this past year, as I've been in my role almost a year now. And we have had close to 25 new members in North Haven alone that had joined us for new business owners. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to go to these ribbon cuttings and to see these businesses be able to open their doors, and the excitement that you see in not only the owners' eyes, but their families as well, and all their friends that are coming out to support. I will say I was at Healing Hand Sanctuary. William, I believe he's here today, is the owner there, and he opened up a 2-room spa for massages, and the amount of support from his family and the community was amazing. You can feel the warmth inside the room, and that's what we're really all about. We're about these businesses, we're about opening those businesses, and Mike is so dedicated to the town of North Haven to ensure the fact that those businesses are opening here and that they're thriving in all that they're doing. We would like to also welcome our police, fire, and EMS professionals that are here this morning. We greatly appreciate all that you do to keep our community safe on a regular basis. And also to all of the North Haven town officials, the Board of Education, for continuing to make this a thriving community to be able to be working in, and also having our children at the school system. At this time, I'd like to welcome John Bow, the Assistant Dean of the Student Experience and Career Development at the School of Computer and Engineering for Quinnipiac University, to say a few words as our host this morning. John?
A very few words. Good morning. Thank you for coming. We're so excited to be able to host this event. The town of North Haven and Quinnipiac University are such strong partners. We really thrive on community spirit, to have excellent town-gown relations, whether it's welcoming folks to come to the campus here, part of Bobcat Stride, to get their fitness walks in, even in bad weather, inside here, hosting President's Public Service Fellowships with the town. I know I had a civil engineering student work with Public Works a summer or two ago, and the relationship allows us all to thrive together. So thank you, First Selectman, for your work, and thank you, everybody, for attending this morning.
Thank you, John, and again, the Quinnipiac University for being such a strong, committed partner in both Wallingford and North Haven. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mike Frieda up, the North Haven's first selectman, as he gives a great overview of all the amazing things that the North Haven community is doing. Mike?
Well, thank you very much, Renee and Gary. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate all the kind comments. But Gary, you know this because you played sports also. He's an All-American football player. He's in Football Hall of Fames. I'm in Baseball Hall of Fames. We can never be satisfied. And I'd like to start this overview by saying that I still have this burning passion and desire to achieve great success. And it seems to be elusive, and I'm constantly pursuing it. Whatever degree of success we've had, I'm still not satisfied. I'm focusing in on trying to achieve more. Hopefully today, on this very frigid morning, after you see the slides that I'm going to be presenting, that you'll have a warm glow of some progress here in North Haven. So let's begin. Today, I'd like to break this overview down into 4 different subjects. Because this is a State of the Town meeting, I'd like to start with giving you an overview on how important infrastructure is. I'll talk a little bit about fiscal health. We'll talk a little bit about a major issue across the state right now, housing trends, and what's happening to those municipalities, including North Haven, that are experiencing revaluation. And then we'll get into some of the updates on economic development. Let's talk a little bit about infrastructure. One of the things that we as municipalities need to understand is understanding the balance between what the taxpayers can afford and what the real needs are. Road paving, infrastructure improvements are very important. So at a recent town meeting, we approved a $2.8 million bonding project, which also includes an amount of money that will be used for a design to improve Sackett Point Road, and I'll get into that momentarily. The balance between what we can afford as taxpayers and what's needed is a critical point of strategic analysis that every city and town must understand and go through. Sackett Point Road, from an infrastructure standpoint, connecting a business district into a retail district into a residential district. This ended up to be for us a story in 3 different parts, 2 of which I'll show you through these slides. This was an over $13 million project rebuilding the bridge going eastbound down Sackett Point Road towards Universal Drive. This exceeded the original $12 to $13 million appropriation because of problems that were discovered underneath the bridge with a crushed sewer pipe that, if it wasn't addressed, would have backed up 25% of the town's people who had sewers over the course of time, who have sewers. This bridge was built in 1938. If it wasn't addressed, it would have ended up collapsing. And of course, we can't have that. So this bridge now has been redone, and we're very happy about that. This is another project that I've been personally involved with. Now, folks, I was out all over social media on this. So one side of me says, you have a sign that says 12.9 inches. You're driving a truck that's 13.5 inches. Hello? But this is where government has to compensate for a lack of situational awareness in this case. So the 2 sides of Mike Frieda say, really? Come on now. Don't you know you have a 13.5 inch cab? But they don't. So this took 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, 5 years, because CSX Railroad would not allow the town to do anything. Our police chief, Kevin Glenn, and I talked about us just painting it, trying to do something, but our hands were tied. I finally got the State Rail Security Division of the DOT to get involved, and I'm happy to report that this will be alliterated even more with more signage, more lights, and at that point, ladies and gentlemen, if the trucks still go through there, there's something wrong mentally here, right? Now, what's not on here is another major, very serious issue, and that is, visualize this. State Street going east over the railroad tracks with Unicor, one of our largest companies, on the right. If I were to show you videos here, ladies and gentlemen, you would see near misses, trains almost hitting trucks. So part of this bonding package for road paving will include not only repaving that portion of Sackett Point Road, but it will also work to get us between $6.2 million and $7 million from the state to reconstruct that area there to improve the safety. Because we're very concerned about those railroad tracks and the near misses. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of how important infrastructure is. Now, from a recreational standpoint, parks are very, very important. We want to have parks as municipalities where people want to bring their children. Over the course of the past 7 years, in a systematic approach, we have basically redone all of the playscapes for our children. And Quinnipiac University has been a large portion of helping underwrite that. So, John, we're very appreciative of the collaboration we have with Quinnipiac University. This was a good example. Optics are important. Acoustics are important. On our town green, we still have it, a showmobile. It's about 34 years old. I think this year it's celebrating its 35th birthday, actually. Our Public Works Department redid the floors. We tried to reset the steps in the back leading up. Some of our bands that we have in our summer concert series, some of the ones that are very popular are the older bands. And I was very concerned that it could be a tripping hazard getting up on the stage. So this was a good example. Using some other funds, we built this, had this built. The bands love it. The safety's improved. And believe it or not, the people who are the concert goers really like it, and they've noticed an acoustical improvement. So the optics are very important in a town to make sure that it doesn't appear to be declining. And that's part of the balance of when to spend money and when to determine what we can afford. Athletic fields. I'd like to tell you a story. 4 years ago, I went to see a North Haven baseball playoff game. I walked down to the field and a crowd of people came. North Haven residents came up to me and said, "Mr. Frieda, we go to Milford, we go to Madison, we go to Guilford, and the fields we play on there are so much better than this field." And it was right then and there I said, you know, we got people now from Madison and Guilford and Milford coming here to North Haven. So I quickly determined, listened very carefully, saw it as a baseball player. I saw what they were talking about. And over the course of time, working with the Board of Ed and combining bonding versus grants, we've upgraded DeMayo Field. We're upgrading the Bailey Athletic Complex. We redid the track for the safety of our residents who use the track and walk every day or walk every night during those seasons. That helped the students at the middle school use the track for the track and field events. Putting in netting, refurbishing the tennis courts. We had cracks in the tennis courts. So these are the things that we have to pay attention to. And within the track, we improved the javelin runway there. So we have now a state-of-the-art facility. And guess what? Because of inflation, we still ran a little bit short of the money. There's still a couple of things that need to be done at our North Haven High School and other athletic fields. Other infrastructure improvements are drainage and flooding issues. In North Haven, ladies and gentlemen, between 3 and 4 inches of consistent and constant rain, 30 to 40% of the town will be flooded. 30 to 40% in those intense rainstorms. So what we've done is, in conjunction with Public Works and doing some other things, working with our town engineer, we're clearing out channels now that were vegetated, highly vegetated, where the water flow wouldn't flow as seamlessly as we would want. Pool Road, a major drainage issue there. In the 500 block of Pool Road, not too far from here, major flooding issues when it rains so heavily. Kings Highway, we had this bridge wash out twice. This is an expensive project, and this is on the corner of Mount Carmel and Kings Highway. And Hartford Turnpike, we replaced a head wall there at a cost of $300,000, which is quite expensive. But if we didn't replace that, Sherwood Drive would have been flooded out. Sherwood Drive right off Hartford Turnpike. So we have to pay attention to these type of upgrades to maintain the quality of life in our communities. Town buildings. If we were to take a walk in the annex right now, for those who would remember, it'd be a flashback to 1970, the way these buildings look on the inside. So although 1970 was a big year across the country and maybe even in North Haven at the time, we have to understand that the optics are so important. We all have images, brand images, ladies and gentlemen, right? And it's the same thing with buildings. So if I walked in here today and said, "Good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm so tired. I had a rough night last night." That's one brand image, right? But if I walked in here and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see everybody," that's a different brand image. Inanimate objects are the same way. We have to improve the way they look, because if we don't, it's going to cost us more money down the road. This is a 30-unit senior citizen facility. This was built somewhere in the early 1970s. It really was not a good place to live for our senior citizens. Through a series of strategic grants, we renovated this. Had the Commissioner of Housing, Commissioner Bruno, down. We cut the ribbon here. The residents love it. We've improved their quality of life. Very important. These are some of the other things we're looking at that we're applying for either grants or we've already done some of these things. Our library roof is an example. We had bolts, metal bolts falling from the ceiling into the pool. Now, we can't have that. We have senior citizens there. We have a lot of different people, including high school students, that use that pool. So this is part of what we've done and are still in the process of completing. The state has come up with now a different formula on how to apply for grants. They like the cities and towns to put some skin in the game. In our case, we're going to be applying for a $1 million grant that we'd have to match $200,000 to get $1 million. For that, if we get that grant, these are some other components and issues that we have to really improve. We had a roof leak at Town Hall recently, or actually it was about 1.5 years ago. And what happens is the tiles on the inside, they turn yellow. We've got people coming in there, taxpayers. We've got to present a good look, and that is part of the mission that I'm trying to describe, including what you see here on this slide. The fiscal health of a lot of our communities has been challenged. This year, we have a reval. We're one of 33 cities and towns. I learned something yesterday on a statewide mayor's meeting, that those many municipalities who do not have a reval this year have declining grand lists, which is not a good thing. So I'd like to take you through this, what has impacted for all of us and challenged fiscal health. It was of inflation over the past several years, the past 3 or 4 years in particular. These are these issues we were faced with. Rising fuel costs, rising utilities, the contract work that we do and hire outside contractors, that has gone up. Building maintenance has gone up. To pave a 1-mile stretch of roadway, it used to cost $200,000. Now it's about $300,000. Those are the things internally that all of our cities and towns have been faced with. Let's take a look at what is a dubious distinction of having revaluation. We, as mayors and first selectmen, dread it because the average person doesn't understand it. Every 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, the state mandates cities and towns to conduct a reval. We have to hire, like the other cities and towns, an outside qualified agency to do that. Every 10 years, we have to have a reval that requires an in-home inspection. This year was a drive-by. So keep this in mind. 5 years, it's a drive-by, and then 5 years from now, it's an internal inspection for those residents and businesses that will allow the company to come in. By philosophy, it is done and was mandated years ago to create a more fair and equitable distribution of who should pay their fair share of taxes. In North Haven, here's the dubious aspect. Property values have risen about 38%. Where I live, my house went up $110,000. So the dubious distinction of reval is as follows. If we were to consider in our overall portfolio of wealth, our homes to be one of the largest values, one of the largest components within all the investments we have, we want our home to rise in value. In essence, it's like a stock. We'd like a stock to continue to rise. The problem in government is that we have to pay for the unrealized gain of that value and have to pay the taxes on the new amount. So in North Haven, much like my colleague Vinnie Cerrone in Wallingford and my colleague Lauren Garrett in Hamden, the surrounding towns that are part of the 32 or 33 cities and towns who have reval, our budget process is underway. The way it would work is this. There will definitely be a mill rate reduction, and we're working on that right now through a series of workshop sessions internally, through the day-to-day activities with myself and the Director of Finance, and as an example tonight, we have a Board of Finance meeting. And yet, by reducing the mill rate, there ends up being winners and losers. Some people may pay the same taxes. Many people still may pay more taxes, and that would be in my case. And then some may just get a moderate increase in taxes. And interestingly enough, the values of the individual homes are predicated many times on whether it's a colonial, whether it's a ranch, whether it's a raised ranch. The style of the home comes into play here. So that's where we are right now, along with all of our colleagues who are going through this. Here are some other statistics. Residential, up almost 38%. Commercial, through the reval, up 29%. Industrial, up 51%. Personal property, up 7.5%. And yet motor vehicles have plummeted all across the state. There was a time when motor vehicles rose during COVID. Now they've dropped significantly. Many of my colleagues are saying, how are we going to make up that revenue? The colleagues who don't have reval, this is where grand lists are declining. And that is a paradoxical situation. So in North Haven, about 27.3% is the blended overview. What does that mean? Believe it or not, if we do nothing, but we're going to reduce the mill rate, reval brings in about $32 million more in incremental revenue for the town. The way I look at this, we know the budget starting July 1st is going to require more money, contractual obligations, things that have to be done. It's our goal to try to give back to the taxpayers everything that exceeds what we need to run the government. This is where the mill rate reduction will come. We don't know exactly yet. I'm going to predict somewhere between 5 and 6 mills as we get through this budget. And then, ladies and gentlemen, once we're done, it's another 5 years. But yet, in those 5 years, every other city in town is going to have to go through this because it's staggered as to who is up for revaluation. So I mentioned our plan is to reduce the mill rate. Let's take a moment to look at North Haven housing trends. Housing is a big thing all across the state. We have approximately 9,627 households in North Haven. The number of homes on the market right now are 19. The median value, which means half or above, half or over, is about $437,000, up 10% since 13 months ago. The average number of days on the market last year, 2024, 23 days. The average number of days that a home that goes up for sale in North Haven in January of 25, 19. Shrunk 14 days. 43% of the homes are selling above list price. I see Anna Bono here, who's one of the more prominent real estate agents in North Haven. She knows this very well. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, there's bidding wars in the street when homes go up for sale in North Haven. The average home value in North Haven, according to Zillow, is about $423,000. It wasn't back until like 3 years ago. We were showing at our town meetings the average value of a home was $300,000. Now we're going to have to readjust that because of the new information that we've gotten. That's a summary of infrastructure, fiscal health, and before I turn our attention to economic development, I'd like to say that one of the fundamental aspects of local government is to keep our citizens safe. So I'm pro-police. I'm pro-public safety. As many of you know, I lift weights with the firefighters and the cops in our respective gymnasium. And I tell them all the time, you have our backs in the streets, and Mike Frieda has your back in town hall. And I'm grateful to our public safety. Let's give them a round of applause, okay? And to show my commitment to public safety, I'm one of only 2 chief elected officials across the state that sits on a statewide law enforcement panel, appointed by 2 different governors in a bipartisan fashion. And that organization is called Police Officer Standard Training. And we're on a mission, myself and my other colleagues who don't sit on the panel, we're on a mission to stamp out and crush street takeovers and ATV bike takeovers in our cities and towns. I did a press conference in New Haven. Some of you know the story. Mayor Ellicott was a bipartisan group of mayors, first selectman, and he said, I'd like to ask Mike Frieda to say a few words. Mike, would you like to say a few words? Yes, I would. Thank you. Channel 8, Channel 3, Channel 4, Fox 61. We're on a mission. For those who are watching, who may be thinking of taking an ATV in our cities and towns, or may be thinking of orchestrating a street takeover, I want you to look in back of me. This is a Butler building. Do you see these ATVs back here? We're going to be confiscating them. And then, and I step towards the camera, we're going to crush those bikes, I said. Crush them. 2 days later, I'm at Wolseley Hall. My friend Ron L. Higgins has just been made commissioner of public safety across the state. The police chief in New Haven comes up to me and goes, Mr. Frieda, my cops are talking. Boy, those were great words. We like hearing that. But that's really, I present it in sort of a jokingly fashion, but that's how I feel. We're fed up with it. That's right, Keith. We're fed up with it, we're sick and tired of it, and we're not going to take it anymore. All right, economic development. Let's take a look at some of the development in town. I'm going back a few years now, because this is when it started. Pressure on cities and towns to add more housing. So we brought in a developer to bring in the flats at 520 Washington Avenue. The same developer has done this, took a dilapidating, bombed out old building, a warehouse, created 225 upscale apartments with a 20% affordable component. 61 Quinnipiac Avenue, this is a new development. This is a rendition. We have a need in our cities and towns for 55 and over, people who want to move out of their homes and move into something that they can consolidate, which opens up inventory for new families. This is going to be built. It was just approved. 344 Clintonville Road, this is a rendition. Piper's Farm. The owner's aged out. This will be 120 units, 55 and over, on the corner of Bassett Road and Route 22. The Wave Apartments. This is the development in the back of the expansion of the Connex building on Washington Avenue. 88 apartments there. A lot of people say to me, hey, Mike, hey, Mr. Frieda, how come we're adding more apartments on Washington Avenue? We're trying to address this housing crisis and housing need and balance the fact that the state is trying to work with us as municipalities to add more housing, even if it's in the form of apartments. A lot of these apartments are postgraduate college students, students who cannot afford a house, who are looking to really get into an apartment first, build some equity, and then purchase a home. You know, it's interesting looking at the Secretary of State list of new businesses. This is in North Haven right now. 2019, you see the trend up to 2023, the increase in new businesses here in town. And that's always a good sign. We have almost 3,000 active businesses right now here in North Haven. There are challenges ahead, a lot of challenges. Let's take a look at some of these challenges going on right now. Here's a good example. I'm going to give you some inside baseball, some granular detail here. This building was over $2 million. The bank foreclosed on it. We have a bank who owns this now. I brought 3 developers in there. The bank now wants $1,850,000 for this. The developers I've brought in to buy it and develop it, because we want to see a store there or a restaurant, a major restaurant, are offering $1,350,000. So the bank calls me, head of the real estate, and said, Mr. Frieda, the bids are coming in, or they're too low. Now, God forgive me on this one, but we can put a church in there if you like. I don't want a church in there. We have 9 churches in North Haven for 24,500 people. I go to church. I can't have a church there. We need some amenities, particularly for the residents and for Medtronic, whom I'll speak about shortly. So anyway, this is still up in the air right now. But I sent a message to them, we have to have either a store, a restaurant, or something that provides an amenity for the citizens there and the businesses there. This is a problem. I spent 10 years on this. We're at a standstill here. This is the little plaza there where Vic's is, this building on the corner. Oh, we had a Dunkin' Donuts that wanted to go there, but the residents didn't want it because Clark and Moulthrop Street would have been cut-throughs, and with a drive-in open 24 hours a day, we had to go with the residents' feelings in that area. And that's why that's not a Dunkin' Donuts there. Sips Cafe. This is a thorn in my side, ladies and gentlemen. So we had a car dealership owner, who I know well, had lunch with him a couple of times. He wants to put a car dealership there. You can't. There's not enough space. I said to him, Fred, you're not going to get a car dealership there. I've got more people that want to buy this building, put a store there, a restaurant there. The car dealership owner is land banking it. That's why you see nothing going on there right now. And that's a challenge, and I'm constantly pushing to try to get progress there. This is another problem. This is the south side of Stop and Shop Plaza. Now, I'm told that this year, later in the year, this master lease on the south side of the building will end, which will then open it up for development. So I'm watching this closely. I'm on top of this, and as soon as that ends, if that is true, you'll see a spider come out of a web, and that'll be Mike Frieda coming out of the web to make this thing move forward. South side of Amazon. Now, there is some new progress here. Gengris Volvo has purchased this, and they're expanding their existing business, so this is now taken off the table. That is going to be a business that is currently expanding. Let's take a look at some opportunities. The former Donatos. You might be saying, and my dear friend Chris Ulbrich, it used to burn him up, ladies and gentlemen, every time he drove there, see that old dilapidated building there. The problem here has been there's 2 separate owners. There's one group that owns the building that only has about 8 spaces, 8 to 9 parking spaces that that property could hold. And then the fairgrounds. 12 years ago, the lease expired between the two, and despite all of my efforts, bringing both groups into my office, trying to negotiate a settlement where both parties can come together, we still don't have them together. So we have one more shot at this, because I've got about 4 different businesses that want to go there, but they need the fairgrounds parking to make this work, because that's where all the parking is. Some of these businesses and these restaurants, 9 spots are not going to be enough, and that's why that parking lot is needed. 200 Valley Service Road, I think Dominic DiMartino is here. His father and I are working very closely together, and this is going to be the site of future development, probably some sort of maybe warehouse building or distribution center. So this is something that never was developed, because almost 75% of that whole Valley Service Road is in national flood zones. That means only 25% can be developed. And this property is one of those developers. And this property down the road, 400 Valley Service Road, that is another development site, and that's going to be developed. And that's a great developer also that we're working with. The north side of Amazon. Well, that's been a problem, but here's what the solution is going to be. A new prototype 7-Eleven is coming there. This will represent a sizable store with breakfast items, with lunch items, with some dinner items being served, and that will be the first of probably 3 different development projects in front of Amazon on the north side of that driveway. So one of the things in economic development is to respond quickly, to move quickly and move in an offensive fashion. The defensive aspect of this, Gary, I'm talking about some football analogies here for you now, okay? The defensive aspect of this was the fact that Namco, it really didn't surprise me, they closed. Consider it's a seasonal business, right? So we moved quickly, we found a developer, and a Dollar General is going there. Now some may say, oh, come on, Mike, a Dollar General? Why do we need a Dollar General? Well, as I mix metaphors here, there's an old song by the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but you just might find you get something you need. This is a Fortune 500 company, ladies and gentlemen. This is a format that sells all different goods, all different categories across a supermarket, including frozen foods and dairy. So we think this is going to be a great addition in town. And now, because of that developer, I've got him tied into other projects in town, and I see great progress with this particular developer. So, at the cornerstone of this economic development resides the second largest company in North Haven. This is a worldwide company that's investing more and more into North Haven. I was just with them again yesterday. I was with them twice between this week and last week. I've got the state involved with this. The DECD, Lindy Lee Gold was here earlier, and she and I were talking about this. I have the commissioner. Oh, there she is, right there. She's been an outstanding resource for me across town. And Lindy, I appreciate your efforts working with me on economic development. So here is going to be, over the next 5 years, hasn't started yet, almost $1 billion worth of expansion at Medtronic. A new campus will be built there. Upgrades in surgical instrument equipment being manufactured in North Haven. Robotics improved. A campus built, actually on the site of where I worked as a kid, the first national supermarket down there. The campus will be built where that old supermarket is, inside their campus. And 300 jobs will be hired over 5 years. It'll be a center to train orthopedic surgeons, physician assistants on the newest technology, robotics and surgical instruments. Watch this one very closely, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm hoping this is a game changer in the Monowee section. Let's take a look, as we come to a near close here, at some of the recent successes, both large and small businesses. Because small businesses are also critically important to the fabric of a business community. A new photography company has come into town on 100 Broadway. this moving with hope. This is a wonderful thing here. Even Senator Blumenthal came down for this. And you see Renee there also. This is on Hartford Turnpike in North Haven, helping people who've had major surgeries rehabilitate. 12% Brewing. Now, this actually came in about 5 years ago. I worked with this owner, connected him with one of the property owners, but they continue to expand here. And this is why I wanted to point this out. We want businesses to expand. The Flower Nook, this will be a transfer. This is moving out of the Stop and Shop Plaza. This building was sold. A new developer has come in. He has really spruced this building up and really brought it back to the 21st century. And the Flower Nook, which is in the plaza, now will be moving there. So it's a neutral, but we gained the incremental value of the building being totally renovated. So Bubba Coos, this is a franchise that people love across up and down the East Coast. So that's now coming in on Universal Drive. A&M Bronx Bakery. This one made me feel good, folks. We recruited them from Westchester, New York. I spent more time with this owner. They purchased the building here on Divine Street. They've pumped in a lot of money to this. They're now about 10 days from being fully up and running. So I took the owner and his team to lunch, and here's what they said. We were in Westchester for 50 years. We never met the mayor there. All the mayors that were there. All of a sudden, Mike, you come along, and you took us through this whole entire process, and we are indebted to you and indebted to North Haven, Connecticut. So this will be something big. This is a company that supplies all types of bread items, perhaps 60 or 70 different varieties, to restaurants, airports, and stores all over the country. A&M Bronx Bakery. This on Powder Meadow Road will be a restoration company who took a dilapidated building, renovated it, and it's opening probably in about 2 weeks. This was a great combination. Two great companies came together. John Deere and F&W came together. My friend Gil Simmons was with me here from Channel 8, and we had a great opening here. And this is another example of a business expanding in town. This was an empty site. This will now be the home of one of the home builders here in North Haven, and this is a nice looking building. So from an optic standpoint, this is improved. This will be offices with some storage in the back. I made my acting debut here early in the summer, back in the summertime. Jill DiCello in the Rotary Club, Jill's here, I think, they asked me to make an appearance here. So now I'm dabbling in acting for the Rotary Club. And it's a form of method acting, ladies and gentlemen, not scripted. You're not going to see me say, well, my name is Mike Frieda. No, it's a form of method acting that I always kind of like. So thank you for introducing me to the acting world. I appreciate it very much. This is a dilapidated building that now has been renovated in the Monterey section, 102 Quinnipiac, called 5 Star Realty. This, unfortunately, Formosa Restaurant went out of business. A sad example of a wonderful business. The company owners aged out. They couldn't get help, and they decided to sell it. We're fortunate to get Jason here from Major Luxury Suites. He's a social media influencer and renovated this whole building. And essentially, this is a man's barbershop, upscale, and a women's salon. I bring the Slate School to attention here because although it's not an economic development project, the enrollment here is really accelerating quickly now that there's a high school there. This is in my neighborhood where I live. And one of the nice things about this was, the building construction fees we got as a revenue item when this was built. So that was very important. And William, I think, was mentioned here. If he's still here, there he is in the corner there. This, I almost had tears in my eyes when I went there. His family has been so supportive, as Ray mentioned. Healing Hands Sanctuary at 97 Washington Avenue. This is a fine young man, a wonderful family. His mother's so proud of him. Everybody is so proud of him. And thank you for being in North Haven. Thank you very much. Benjamin Moore, one of the great names, along with Sherwin-Williams from a paint store standpoint. This is at the site of where the old Starbucks used to be. They're so happy here, they're thinking of expanding in that very plaza, and that is a good thing. Schneider Electric, Dodge Avenue, 60 Dodge Avenue. Lindy Lee Gold was involved with this also with me. 90,000 square feet, a worldwide company in that building there. And this is a great company focusing in on something very important in today's society, energy savings components. Skull and Combs Company in the North Haven Plaza. This young man was a football teammate of our police chief, Kevin Glenn, at East Haven High School. And by the way, Kevin still holds the all-time passing yardage record for East Haven High. This guy happened to be his tight end and still talks about a Thanksgiving Day when he caught, I guess, 4 passes and 1 touchdown from our chief. So Kevin, you got a good reputation on the football field. Volo Restaurant. So this is Alphonse DeLucia, a very good friend of mine who owns Portofino's. There's a total now of 4 partners here. This has been a very successful restaurant. About 6,700 square feet in North Haven. Grace's Candy, another new type of unique business, and we're hoping they're still doing okay, but a wonderful family, very nice assortment of products. Jersey Mike's, Universal Drive, the same owner, loves North Haven so much, loves the business there, he brought Jersey Mike's as a second franchise into this plaza here. So now we're finally complete in this plaza with the Starbucks, the drive-through. People wanted a Five Guys here. We have it. Jersey Mike's and Haven Hot Chicken. Forbes Fuel. This is a 4,200 square foot floor across from the fairgrounds. You'll see it when you drive by there. Empty parcel of land for about 9 years. A nice development project in town. Some other examples, some smaller businesses that I've been at, this past year. Comfort Care Home Care, another entrepreneur set up here, and they're doing very well there. 22,000 square foot expansion here. This was great. This was such a dynamic opening. These Sprint vans, they're luxury vans. This business is thriving here in North Haven. That was an empty parking lot. Now we have that Sprint van service there. Edible Arrangements on Washington Avenue. That will now be a corporate edible arrangement. Their CEO called me, and he wanted me to know that they're investing a lot of money here, and it'll be a corporate franchise, run by corporate edible. We visited this restaurant here. This is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Alibaba's, their second store. This is located in the plaza where La Lupa restaurant is there, next to Sam's restaurant. I would encourage you to try it. I brought some products back for my staff. They liked it a lot, and this was a good new store opening here. I talked about this before. This is an expansion, an extension of the Connex corporate offices, now that Connex Credit Union. Yesterday, I took Medtronic down to this restaurant. This is a new Venezuelan restaurant. I took the head of HR there, Carol Kennedy. We are trying to help Medtronic get more amenities there, like I spoke earlier. We walked in there, and it was open for the first time. People were coming in and out of there, including, unbeknownst to Carol, Medtronic employees who knew this restaurant because of a food truck they had on Long Wharf in New Haven. That was the brand image that was established. And this restaurant, from what we saw yesterday, thriving. And when I go into these new locations, and Carol was with me yesterday, because their employees at Medtronic, they don't like to walk in that area, I'll ask this question. This guy's name was Gene. Gene, would you do a DoorDash for Medtronics? Well, if that's what Medtronic wants, we'll do that. So we make those type of connections too. So they, meaning Carol and her team, were very happy. We tried a little bit of the food. It was outstanding. Big Y Express, they were one of my customers in my corporate career. They're continuing to add these Big Y Expresses throughout the state of Connecticut. This 336 State, automotivated, a car upgrade facility. This is an example from 2 years ago, not this past year, how we filled an empty space here with Gaylord. Home Goods, this is sort of old news, but a good example of being on the offensive after a defensive move where all of a sudden the shoe store left. Elite Limousine, 575 Washington, a store that was vacant for years. That's a whole nother story, but this business is doing very well. And Northeast Sign on 27 Dodge Avenue. This was a company that I recruited from another town who had a problem with their landlord, 12,000 square foot business, HVAC company. This took 10 years, 10 years. Started with the Cinemark. We brought the Chick-fil-A in, one of the highest volume Chick-fil-A's in the state. We ended up bringing Panera Bread in. And the fourth and final component is this new Hampton Inn being built. People will say, hey, Mr. Frieda, why a hotel there? Well, simply because a lot of businesses in the Monterey section, Medtronic in particular, when they bring their executives in from out of state, they weren't staying in North Haven. Now we've given them an opportunity to stay in North Haven at this new hotel, which should be opening up in about 60 days. So in the end, I'd like to leave you with this. I use a lot of sports metaphors. Sometimes people get tired of them, so I'm going to shift it. I gave you a taste of a musical metaphor earlier with the Rolling Stones. I'm going to present another musical metaphor here today. And it goes like this, from one of my favorite songs when I was a teenager. I'm going to give you the lyric, then I'm going to give you the Mike Frieda version of the lyric. And the lyric is as follows. Oh, determination is fading fast, and inspiration is a thing of the past. Can't see how my hope's going to last. That line. My version of it is this. Oh, determination is increasing fast, and inspiration will never be a thing of the past, and I can never see my hope not lasting. So thank you. So I leave you with these three important points. Stay positive, work very hard, make it happen, and get things done. Because in our individual areas of resourcefulness, we can create our own destinies as people, as businesses, and as a government. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mike. Like I said before, North Haven is an absolute staple inside this state, and there's reasons why businesses are choosing to come into this community, because Mike really definitely has the bread and butter to knowing how to make this all work. No pun intended to A&M Bronx Bread Company coming in too. Now I have the pleasure of bringing Garrett Sheehan, our president and CEO of the Quinnipiac and Greater New Haven Chamber, for final remarks.
That's right. Well, good morning, everyone. Great to see everyone. Mike, great hearing all the things going on in North Haven. And I can tell you from working with other towns across the state, I mean, if a town had just a couple of the things that Mike talked about, they would be ecstatic. Not to mention how Mike is so involved in every one of the details of all these businesses. And that's really what it takes in economic development. That's why we appreciate working with the town of North Haven, Mike, your entire team, great partners. And I also want to mention just in the region overall, North Haven is a leader of bringing together the entire community, because it takes this entire region that we have. Mike mentioned working with New Haven, but working with all of the surrounding towns as well. I noticed in all of those pictures, the chamber is there, and that's a part of Mike bringing so many people to the table to be involved. I want to thank Quinnipiac University as well for hosting us, and just look forward to another great year of doing things in North Haven and in this region. So thank you, everyone.
I will ask for all of our sponsors just to please stay afterwards for a picture with Mike, and everybody have a great day. Thank you.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the Town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.